Hello, my friends. Greg Cloudmanzer here, your business coach and life coach here in San Diego. And in this video, I want to talk about what can we learn from MMA, which is mixed martial arts, and/or the UFC. So I was thinking a lot about business coaching and coaching at large in general, and the consumer, when the consumer goes out there and looks for coaching, there's so many different takes or methods or ways or approaches in which to go about helping people to uh, grow their business, to become more profitable, to be more fulfilled, to orienting their business around their guiding principles or core values. So there's all these different methodologies, if you will. Some are more strategic, some are more dealing with states or beliefs. And so there's all this stuff out there in terms of different modalities for really helping people get from where they are to where they want to be, or closing the gap, as we call it in coaching. So, having been a martial artist myself for many, many years, there's this tendency to think that where I'm training and my teachers and the style in which I'm training is ultimately the best. And it wasn't until, oh geez, maybe, I'm not even sure the dates now, but it was probably in the last 15, 20 years when the UFC fights started coming out, the Ultimate Fighting Championships. And what really inspired it or prompted it was people wanting to know and really test their skill and their abilities. So you'd have street fighters coming up against karate guys, and wrestlers, and karate and judo and kung fu and all these different styles of self-defense and fighting. And it wasn't until Brazilian Jiu Jitsu came into the ring, and people were suddenly in awe about the effectiveness of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And so many of the fighters started to figure out that if they were going to actually be competitive and survive in the ring, they better make sure they have a ground game. Or if the fight goes to the ground, they better know what the heck to do. You can have a very, very experienced stand-up fighter end up on the ground, an extremely successful person in a boxing career end up on the ground, and they're basically like a fish out of water. They have no ability to protect themselves or defend themselves, let alone attack or to win a fight. So I liken all of this martial arts, the MMA and the UFC, as what's really happened is it's evolved the arts. So ground game has come into the arts and has become really effective. And as more and more people begin to have a ground game underneath their primary fighting art, uh, what happened is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys quickly learned that they better make sure that they have a better stand-up game. And so they started to practice boxing and Muay Thai, kickboxing, and things like that to help even out the matches. And so I call this the evolution of martial arts, and that there's something that we can learn from all of the different arts. And in fact, if we're truly going to evolve, we need to pick the best from each of the different styles and or modalities. And so I think that's true in business. I know personally my style is more non-linear, or I would call third dimension, if you will. And so that doesn't mean anything to you, perhaps, but it's more of what I will call an integral approach. It focuses more on who you are as an individual and how you're showing up. Um, and interestingly enough, there's other styles which are more strategic. It's like, so what are you going to do? What are your goals? How do you plan on getting there? And none of these are inherently wrong. In fact, many of them can get you to your desired outcome. I think the question and the problem is the consumer. The consumer is looking for the one way to get them from here, point A to point B. And so the message here in this video is that there is no one way. In fact, um, many modalities could potentially help you get there. What I think is important to understand is that one way will not work all the time for everyone. Okay, so given your size and or your strengths and your abilities, what style, what modality is best suited for who you are, rather than kind of getting you plugged into somebody else's one size fits all. So really the point here is there's a lot of different modalities. There's a lot of different hows or ways in which people in the helping profession are working with business owners and professionals and entrepreneurs to help them move from where they are to where they want to go. Some of them are marketing based. If you only knew how to language and articulate your brand and your message, then you'd be wildly successful. Others are, build a list, build this great list and market to your list. And the reason you're not successful is you don't have a list. Okay, well, there may be some value in that as well. There's other approaches that are more situational. Working with the people to clean up situations and handling them in a wiser, more eloquent way. So there's a lot of different modalities out there. There's NLP. There's all kinds of ways. You have to figure out what works for you. There's this, EFT or emotional, or there's tapping. So, not saying any of that is bad or not, but it's not the only way. So, what I really encourage all of you to do is just stay open. Stay open to figuring out what works. Be willing to step outside your primary strategy or way of going about things, and evolve your game of business. And what that could look like is that if you're really good at sales, and that's your strength and that's your game, you may want to look at, okay, how can I have more of an inbound marketing strategy, and who can I train or who do I need to learn from in order to do that? Maybe you're really good at web development and SEO, but what's missing in your game in terms of business success is really the skill of managing your staff and your people. So, anyways, what we can learn from mixed martial arts is that one style is not going to allow us to be sustainably successful as we move into an evolving market where you're going to have to cross-train and learn other business skills, other proficiencies, other competencies, and you're going to have to round out your game. This is a good thing. This is a good thing that business is actually evolving in terms of how we do things, how we sell products and services. And so I encourage you to look at it as both a challenge and an opportunity to evolve as a professional, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. All right, these are my thoughts on what mixed martial arts and the UFC have to teach us in the art of being a successful business owner and professional and entrepreneur.